I want to talk about the contrast between striving for goals and achievements in your life, bettering your life, and being grateful, present, and happy with your current life. And it seems quite difficult to reconcile the two different things. I was listening to this Modern Wisdom podcast yesterday with Chris Bumstead and Chris Williamson, and they brought this idea up of, it's really, really difficult to navigate this problem of how do you strive for personal growth and development, achieving goals in your life, and also being grateful for where you are in the moment and being present. And the podcast host made a good point by saying that it's a very nuanced solution. It's different from person to person, really. And you can't really use a blanket statement for such an individual problem. I think this is important to try and appreciate this problem and to try and go somewhere down the middle, because if you do only strive to better yourself and to seek achievements and accomplishments, and that's like what you're spending all of your time doing, you're not spending any time in the present moment, you're not being grateful for what you have at the moment, you're actually feeling quite disappointed with your current life, and you're only looking to the future of this future life where your physique might be better, or you've built a business, or you've seeked these accomplishments. When you set a goal like that, the literal way that you achieve that goal is by changing your current lifestyle. So it's kind of counterproductive to also be grateful for the lifestyle that you have at the moment and to be present and appreciating your body and your surroundings and things like this when you've set these big future goals for yourself. But I am fortunate that I've sort of deployed a gratitude practice since the start of my self-improvement journey, and that is gratitude journaling, writing a few things every day that I'm grateful for. And I think it has been a really useful practice, because there are so many things that we can be grateful for, even if you are feeling discontented with your current life and you've set big goals and you want to progress in life. That doesn't mean that there's nothing for you to be grateful for now. I mean, I think gratitude and presence go quite well hand in hand, because when I am present, I'm a lot more grateful for everything that's around me, and it really takes away the sense of like external materialism, I suppose. Because if I go for a morning walk in the morning and I just focus on my breath and I'm looking around at nature, I'm thinking, wow, like I'm feeling really good at the moment. And I can feel my body, I can feel my breath. This is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. These achievements and goals I'm working towards are what I'm interested in at the moment. And that's not necessarily going to stay with me for the rest of my life. And certainly, once you achieve something, it very quickly disappears. The sense of joy and achievement that you get when you complete a goal goes away very quickly. And I've known about this in the past when I've achieved different things, but I really understood it more, and understood that was the way that I felt after listening to Chris Bumstead, because he was saying that after he won one of his Olympias, it was more relief than a sense of like, oh yeah, let's go celebrate, like I've achieved my goal, this is what I've dreamed of. And it's because he was sort of running away from his younger self, I suppose. And it was more relief in the sense of, oh, okay, I've pulled it off. I am Mr. Olympia. I'm therefore not a loser. And his point surrounding that was that you actually have to strive for something, and you've got to make sure that you enjoy it. You enjoy the actual activity. So in his case, he loves to bodybuild. He loves to go to the gym. And he was saying that as soon as that love for it disappears, even if he could push himself and get more titles and be successful, he'll leave the sport. But at the moment, he's still loving it, which is why he's continuing. And I thought that was interesting because when I started going to the gym, I didn't necessarily do it because I loved it at first. I did it because it was something productive to do. I wanted to turn my life around. I wanted to feel more confident about myself. I wanted to look better. And all of those are somewhat selfish desires and goals that I was striving for. And now they're somewhat in the background, but I do also just love going to the gym and pushing myself physically. And I think the interesting question is whether that's because I've reprogrammed my brain and my mind to just love pushing myself, which I don't think is the case, because anybody who does difficult things feels better about themselves, and anybody who does difficult things feels good afterwards. Like if you do a cold plunge, for example. And another example could be if you go on a hike and you're finding it really hard at first, climbing up this hill, and then once you get past the first half an hour, the sticking points, your mind understands that you're going to carry on doing this walk until the end, and your body relaxes into it, and then you get a good feeling at the end, the feeling of accomplishment. And the other interesting thing that was brought up on the podcast was this idea of like fueling a persona or an ego. And that is ultimately quite a destructive thing to do, because you're not doing what your core self wants to do. You're doing what a role model of yours does, or what somebody who you respect does, and you're trying to act in a similar way, and you're creating a persona of them. And I think it's quite often to gain the approval of other people. So if we take the gym, for example, if I see Chris Bumstead as my role model, and I'm like, okay, I want to be like him because he's really cool. He seems like he has a lot of fans. I want to gain that sort of popularity as well, and that sense of validation. So I'm going to start going to the gym and bodybuilding. That would be a persona, I suppose. And that is, to some extent, a bit of what I did at the start. But is it negative if that then turns into part of your identity, which I think it naturally does? Whenever you form a new habit, it's difficult at first, and you go through pain, and you need discipline and consistency to form the habit, and then it sort of becomes part of your identity. Right, it's sort of the same with this YouTube thing I'm doing at the moment. I started last summer, and at the very start I was like, didn't really want to tell anybody about it in my friend group, in my extended family. And now, like, it just comes out naturally in conversation. There is no resistance in my mind. So it's sort of become part of my identity through doing it, I think. Because before I'd sort of be focused on, oh, what are they going to think of my YouTube videos? What are they going to think about the fact that I'm doing this? And I think because I've done it, I've made like quite a few videos and I've spent a bit of time doing them. It's just become part of my identity to some extent. So it's difficult because I do agree with them that to build this kind of persona of someone you look up to and to just blindly follow a role model is a bad thing. But everything in the world is literally nuanced. Not everything. I mean, there's rules and principles in science which are universal, but everybody has an individual mind which connects to themselves in a different way to somebody else. And everybody has different genes, everybody has different physical characteristics. So I think it does play a role, and there's that side of things which are nuanced, and then there's also the activity that you pick. Like, there is definitely a ranking of what a good persona could be and what a bad persona could be. I feel like going to the gym and trying to instill a sense of confidence in yourself may be a persona, but in the end it's not negative, I don't think. It's this whole idea of fake it till you make it in terms of confidence. That's literally how most people become confident, I feel like. Nobody wakes up the next day and then wakes up one day and they're like, I'm gonna be confident today. You can wake up one day and be like, I'm going to try and be confident. I'm going to pretend like I'm going to be confident, even though inside I might not be feeling confident. And then if you do that for a month, everyone starts treating you like you're a confident person. And then you get that feedback loop and it becomes part of your identity. I suppose the real difficulty is when you're fueling a persona, or you're fueling your ego and a sense of getting validation from other people from something which is negative and something that is so completely outside of yourself and not you, that it creates conflicts within your life, where everything you're spending your time doing isn't what you actually want to do, but you're doing it to please other people, and then that fuels your ego and that makes you feel good, but deep inside that's actually not what you wanted to do. But it's a hard line to find. Like, I would argue to some extent that's what I did when I first started going to the gym, but now it's become part of my identity and I really love it. So is that a bad thing? But going back to the main point of this video that I was trying to get to, the contrast between being present and grateful for what we have now, and also striving for more in the future and trying to change the lifestyle that we have now. I think it really depends on where you are in life. If you've just started setting goals for yourself, then it's very different to if you're like a year or two down the line and you've accepted some of these habits as part of your identity, like I have. And I think that's because if you're at the start of trying to turn your life around and bettering yourself and doing some personal growth, sort of anything you put your mind to, anything that you perceive as being productive in your life and you then start doing, is a good thing, in my opinion. And in my case, maybe I was creating a persona, but then it became part of my identity, and I enjoy it now. I think that's probably what happens with most people at the gym. When they first start, they just do it to feel more confident and look better and attract more girls. And then they actually start to enjoy the physical aspect of it in terms of pushing your body to the limit. Now, what is the difference when you create a persona for yourself when you're further along this journey? I suppose the natural development in terms of personal growth is that you somewhat sort your life out, you get habits in place, you start feeling better about yourself, you have more confidence, you might be getting some gains in the gym and you're getting compliments, and you gain a great sense of self from that. And in this way, your mental health is in a good place as well. Let's say you stop using social media so much, you stop watching porn. If you're at this baseline level and then you start to create another persona for yourself, you start to strive for more, I think quite a natural progression, and it definitely is influenced by the media that is around us in this modern age, is to strive to make money online, start a business, get ahead in terms of finances. And this is where I think it probably can be problematic, because that persona is more dangerous, that sense of materialism. There's a big difference, which depends on where you are on your journey. If you've just started and your mental health is terrible and you feel, and you just have bad habits, pretty much any productive, good persona that you can think of in your life that you take and you start doing things like that person, it might not be you, because you might have played video games all of your life and you might have eaten junk food for all of your life, but that's going to be good in the end, because you're going to be a healthier person and your mental health is going to be better. And then that will become part of your identity, as I've been saying. But if you're at a baseline level where you're healthy, your mental health is good, and you strive for more. And I think the natural progression, as I was saying, was going for a business orientated route. That can be dangerous because that is when this sense of presence and gratitude really can escape you. If you're constantly trying to get more views on social media and you're trying to, keep on striving and seeking more wealth and materialism, that doesn't really benefit you in terms of how it actually changes your life. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that once you have good habits and you feel healthy and you've got good relationships, you've got good family relationships, and you feel, in a good place, on top of that, you only really need enough to support yourself and your family, and then you can spend the rest of the time being present and doing the things that you want to do in your life. I do think that if you're constantly pushing things to the side that you enjoy and instead just trying to go down this business route, that's not going to improve your life in any way. There's a certain, I can't really put a number on it for how much money you need to feel fulfilled, but I suppose it's different for each person. And once you hit that threshold, if you keep on doing stuff that you don't want to do, then I think that does fuel a dangerous ego and a dangerous persona, which is different from yourself and which doesn't benefit you. But then I suppose you could say, well, what if you grow a business and then, just like going to the gym, that becomes part of your identity, and then you actually start enjoying it, and then you carry on doing it that way. I suppose that's a good argument as well, but I think it's pretty clear that materialism doesn't add much to our lives, and there's very little actually that we need to live on. And I can't really believe that I've got to this conclusion, because I'm very much in favour of this idea of, doing difficult things is good for you. Doing difficult things makes you feel good. If you always give in to your emotions, then you ultimately will have bad mental health, because you'll probably be watching porn and having bad food all the time. And yet here I've come to the conclusion that in terms of business, once you're at this good baseline, you actually don't need to do the bad things. I mean, do the difficult things. But I suppose it's not even just doing the difficult things. This is more an argument against chasing materialism, I suppose. You could get to this baseline and still seek discomfort and still try to, I don't know, go into fitness or do something else, which doesn't necessarily mean materialism. You know, there's so many things that you could do out there, so many sports you could go into. You could become really interested in reading a certain type of literature. I'm personally interested in philosophy at the moment, so I suppose that does make sense, actually. On the other hand, there are people who genuinely just gain like, it seems like their purpose in life is to just make money, and that's what they derive their value from. And I think that's like that's not the majority at all. That's a very small percent of the population, but there are people like that who, you know, have million dollar companies, and then they just start a new one and carry on going for it. I suppose people like on Dragon's Den, if you've ever seen it, the investors who have companies themselves, they just keep on going. They just want to invest in another company and help them grow, and then they want to invest in another company and help them grow, and then sell it and make more money. And some people are like that, and I think that's completely fine. But for the vast majority, I don't think you can gain that much from seeking materialism. But then there's another point you can make, which is that, if you're going down a business route, not everybody is seeking materialism in their life. You might be growing a business to then retire and not work for the rest of your life and just live modestly, start a charitable organization which you're then going to run, which is going to take a lot of hard work and dedication yourself, but you need that money to make a big impact in the world. I think that's a reasonable option as well. But the reason that I'm talking about materialism is that there was this parable that Chris Williamson said in this podcast, which was the parable of the Mexican fisherman. And he was talking about how there was this American tourist in Mexico. This is just a story. And he was by the harbour and he came across this fishing boat coming into the harbour. And the American asked the Mexican, how many fish did you get? And he said, just a few. And they said, how long did you go out for? And he said, just a few hours. And then the American went on this rant telling the fisherman that he could have, why have you only got enough fish to support your family? You could have stayed out for a few more hours, brought more fish back, sold the difference, and you could make quite a profitable business that way. And then the Mexican fisherman was saying, oh no, because I'm busy already in my life. I'm busy walking into town in the evenings and drinking some wine and playing my guitar with my amigos and spending time with my family and having siestas with my wife. And I think I've got a very busy, happy life. And he was saying, oh, no. And the American was saying, no, because you can start this business and you'd have to move here and then do this and then move to New York. And then in about 20 years' time, you'd have this $1 million company, and then you can sell it all, and then you can retire for the rest of your life, and then you can go back and do all of these things that you want to do. So this is a story basically about why materialism isn't that important. But I think it's not a completely universal story. And Chris did talk about this in the podcast, not necessarily about the story, but about how so many things are nuanced. And if you have a short story or a quote, to try and encapsulate your whole life and to understand the world, it doesn't really work, because the world is so complex, and there's more to it than just one story or one quote. So this story works and it doesn't work. It works in the sense that if it takes you a few hours to make enough money for your family to live off for a week, or not even a week, but if you don't have to work all day to then support your family to live, and you have time in the day for enjoying life, being present, being grateful, going to walking into town in the evening when the sun is setting and having some wine and playing guitar and spending time with your family, then that's good. But I don't think that is the majority of the population. I think that's probably just the middle class and the upper class. The working class definitely, which are the majority of the population, are working really hard and don't have that leisure time. And even the middle class as well have to work a lot of hours to get the money to support their families, and there isn't much time for leisure. But yeah, I mean, on the other side of the argument, the story does work, because for those privileged people who do have time to have leisure, and I mean, I'm in this fortunate position because I'm a student and I go to university, so I have a lot of free time. I can structure my time however I want, and I do enjoy a lot of the time that I spend during my days playing table tennis and going to the gym and going for walks, seeing my friends, just talking to people. I love talking to people and having interesting conversations. That's all great. But then I do have this side of my life where I'm trying to push forward and create something, and especially I'm really focused in on my health and having good mental and physical health. I think it's really important. Thinking about what I'm eating, thinking about what I'm consuming digitally in terms of food as well, and making sure I'm a healthy person, because I know I have this body for the rest of my life, and things in the external world will come and go. So there's that, and then there's also the striving I'm doing at the moment in terms of this YouTube channel. I want to try and grow this YouTube channel and hopefully make some money out of it. And that's a big goal of mine, and it's an ambitious goal, and it's a difficult thing to do. So am I wasting my time doing this? Should I just be doing the relaxing thing? Well, not necessarily relaxing, but living in the present moment and enjoying life while I've got, I'm probably at the best time of my life at the moment, in my 20s. I think there is a balance, and I think when you look at both extremes, both sides of the argument are bad. You can look at only striving to make money and increase your paycheck and become higher value and better yourself and personal growth. And then you can look at just living in the moment and being grateful for what you have and doing things that you enjoy. And that's both of the extreme. The idea of moderation here, and in general, works for a lot of things. I think if you have some sense of moderation, like I do, I think some people might think I'm too extreme and pushing myself too hard, but I think, I have a good, reasonable amount of both, because, as I've been saying, doing difficult things makes you feel good. I enjoy going to the gym now. I'm not just doing it to fuel some persona that isn't me. I think it is actually part of my identity. I enjoy doing this YouTube channel because I'm really delving into what I believe in, and I think it's great that lots of my friends who I'm in contact with see these YouTube videos and talk to me about them, and they're like, I think you're a bit too far on this opinion, or I think you're wrong about this, and some people agree with me on some things, but it's definitely a positive, because even if I do have how can I say this? Even if I do overstep the mark and say something that I don't actually believe, or that I later regret saying, I will be able to learn from this experience. And it's a good skill in general, being able to speak in front of a camera. I did this last summer, and then I started a society at my university, self-improvement society. I stood up and did lots of lectures about different topics within self-improvement. I did a few I did one on stoicism, and a few others as well. But even if the beliefs that I have now, are like disregarded in the future, and I have a different belief system, or if I think I was wrong to have said that, this is a good opportunity for me to understand myself, understand my thoughts, try and get my beliefs straight, and have a sense of competence as well in communicating what I think. I'm definitely not perfect at all. I know that, and I can be quite impressionable. I have definitely in the past. I think I still do idolize people and look up to people and take from people in the media, when I should just be a bit more critical and thinking for myself. But that's something that I'm trying to do through this channel, so. Yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier, you can definitely do both, but you just have to be conscious about it. I think it's my meditation practice definitely helps with this, because I don't meditate anymore, but in the spare moments during the day, when I'm waiting in a queue, or when I'm walking somewhere, or when I'm traveling on public transport, washing up, anything, and I remember this, I try and focus on my breath, and then I feel present, and I can I can remind myself of what's important, my body and my mind, and that this will stay with me forever. And that's the presence side of things. Then you can also feel a great sense of gratitude, which I do just for the position that I'm in. As I said earlier, that I do have things I enjoy in my life, and that I've got a great support network, I've got great family, I've got great friends. I go to a university where I can structure my time, and there are many people in jobs who just don't enjoy what they're doing and don't feel like their job is doing anything for the world, and they are just doing it for their paycheck. I'm a very fortunate position in comparison to them, because I get to do this YouTube channel, and I get to research things that I'm interested in, and I get to go to the gym and see my friends and play table tennis, and it's all great. So that's the gratitude side of things. And then I'm still striving for getting better at table tennis, especially. I've been really focusing on that recently, and this YouTube channel, trying to grow this YouTube channel, trying to understand what I believe in, trying to be a good communicator, trying to be competent. And I feel like my life is in a really good place at the moment, and I'm really grateful for that.